Electronics and Telecommunications Engineering. So I would really like Kavi sir to share something about e-Yantra and what is so special about this time's eYRC.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kavi Arya. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what e-Yantra Robotics Competition is all about. First of all, it's a very unique competition. It actually arose from the embedded systems course that I teach at IIT Bombay. And originally, eYantra was to be a project to just share this experience with teachers across the country. But then we found that teachers are not as enthused about learning all these kind of things. So we turned our entire content into a competition. And ever since, we've never looked back because we've made this competition open to engineering students. So what the competition does is that it teaches robotics and embedded systems through a competition mode. Now, the competition has evolved to have two stages. The first stage is a MOOC, which actually teaches you stuff. It teaches you robotics, embedded systems, image processing, or what have you. And the second stage actually gives you a robotic kit very often, or you can also work on a simulator. It gives you something in your hand with which to build something to solve a problem. The problems we make you solve are typically abstractions of real world problems. And we are very confident that if you can solve these, you're on your way to solving real problems in society. So that's what eYantra is all about. It's a competition that prepares you for the real world problem solving and things like that. There's a nominal registration since this year. And more importantly, the competition has also become international this year. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about it. Stage one and stage two. Stage one is a MOOC, and stage two, we put a kit in your hand. The people who perform well in stage one are given the opportunity to get into stage two. And we typically have 6 to 7 problem statements every year. And each problem statement is called a theme. And each theme is targeted at different levels of participants. There might be novices who come for the first year, so we give them a certain kind of problem to solve. There might be advanced students. We have students who come in the first year, second year, third year, and even fourth year for that matter. So we don't want to give them the same simple themes that we give the others. And plus, we need to push them up the learning curve. So we give them more difficult themes, and they love that. So that's what the competition is all about. And we give you certificates. An eYantra at IIT Bombay certificate for stage one. And we also give you a certificate for stage two. And in stage two, the top 6 to 7 teams are typically invited to come to IIT Bombay for the finals, where they have to face an IIT Bombay faculty jury. And once they've been through all that mill, it's essentially like a viva, which gives you an opportunity to demonstrate what all you've learned. And after that, we select from the finalists at IIT Bombay, we select interns, right? So this is a very coveted internship at IIT Bombay. Typically, we give about 30 internships. So the prizes are a bit of cash and the 6-week internship at IIT Bombay. And typically, as I said, 30 internships. This year, because of COVID lockdown, we had to postpone our finals and stuff like that. But we didn't want to disappoint the students. And, you know, the students do a lot of good work for us also. So we didn't want to let go of that. So instead of 30 students, we took on 133 students in a remote internship, which surprisingly has been a resounding success. In fact, I don't recall enjoying the internship as much as I did this year, where we had much more intimacy, much more togetherness, and much more enthusiastic activity, even in spite of lockdown in this internship. And many of our internships have become friends. They become like our extended eYantra project community or staff, if you like. And like we have inorganically, it seems, grown the family to almost twice the number overnight. And it's a great feeling to be there. And as the story goes along, I'll be happy to talk a bit more about the competition. But something else I would like to share with you. This competition runs over 6 to 7 months. So it's a bit of a hard grind in that sense. But it gives you as much as you put in. In fact, I would say much more than you put in. And many colleges and universities which are trying to align themselves with the new education policy of the Ministry of Education are beginning to see the advantages of this competition and are actually mulling giving their students academic credit for participating in the eYantra competition. Now, this is a great thing to see. So without much ado now, I will hand the floor back to Anuj to ask questions of the rest of my colleagues here, Ritu and Trishant. So over to you, Anuj.
Thank you, Kavi sir, for sharing about eYantra and the robotics competition and it going international. So that's really encouraging and really exciting. So I would like to know from Ritu. Ritu, how was the journey? Like you were part of the eYantra robotics competition, then the internship. So how has the journey been for you? How has it been rewarding? If yes, then can you share with our audience that what have you gained out of this internship?
So if I answer that in one word, I would say it was really empowering for me as a student. So the whole journey for obviously the 6 to 7 months of the robotics competitions as well as 2 months for the internship, it was really fun because I'd answer this question in two parts of how eYRC and eYantra as a whole benefited me as a person. So as an engineer, definitely, it teaches you various skills throughout the 6 to 7 months that you participate. My theme was survey and rescue. And in that, I started learning about robotic operating system, ROS, gazebo simulator, had better hands-on Linux and image processing, and all these things were done using Python. So it was like a whole package for me. I learned through project-based learning, right, which is very important. But the competition is more than just that. We also learned how to think out of the box. We had to persevere. Like perseverance was a good learning outcome of this thing. Then how to do self-learning, which is very important at any stage of life. Then obviously there was a great team bonding between me and my teammates. We learned how to manage our resources well. And the most important thing that came out of it was multitasking, because obviously when you are participating in such a big competition, you cannot neglect your academics. So we had to perform there as well. And many times it happened that, we had multiple tests, assessments, end semester exams, assignments, and whatnot going on. But what we did was that we did not want to actually neglect the competition also. So we kind of prioritized our timetable. So whenever, whichever thing was of more priority, we did that first. Even if the deadline of the competition was later, we finished the tasks knowing that we'll be having our exams at that point of time. So we kind of managed it that way. Personally, I was really hesitant to code because I'm from an electronics background, but even though that, I was really hesitant to code, and I did not think that the condition with me would really improve no matter what. But in the months that followed, the bar was gradually increased because, like, whilst we are participating in the competition, initially we are actually given a lot of help in the form of documents and some resources to understand what the problem is, and they kind of teach it to us. It's like a MOOC in a way. And so the bar was gradually increased, and we realized that uh, you know uh, we could like going from knowing almost nothing to actually setting up the environment and eventually coding a real drone, which was part of our theme. So it greatly improved our technical skills as well. um, we had a lot of negative moments also whilst we were in the competitions. For instance, we were really battling through the deadline. Sometimes we had some misfortunes in terms of like our drone almost went out of the window. The propellers broke many times. We repaired it obviously, but those sort of things happened. But really, it was like a very a fun journey throughout, I would say. So it is not out of false modesty when I say that if I can do it, anyone can. Because seeing what I have gained throughout the past, say about 10 months, it has been really wonderful. The only thing is that we need to be really perseverant, and of course, we must have a great company, like our team members, and all those things really matter a lot. Then once we reached the final interviews, and we were also selected for the internship. Now, internship in itself is like it was a great journey in itself. Um, the mentors, we had to work on certain projects, and we were also allotted mentors. Never spoke the highlight of the internship aspects of the project, but eYantra tried to improve us as human beings. Like we were exposed to really nice Chopra and many industry experts as well, and they taught us about several important topics which, as an engineer, we generally neglect. For instance, geopolitics of Indo-Pacific region, food and agriculture, alternate realities, which gave us exposure to literature, automatic speech processing, startup ecosystems, and many more. So we like in the process, obviously we realized that it is not only important to have good technical skills, good communication skills, but also know what is happening in our surrounding, be aware of things. So it really helps us as a person and to grow. So thank you.
Wow, Ritu, that's like you said, empowering, and also if I can do it, so can anyone. So that's really very encouraging, Ritu. So Prashant, Ritu said that it's been a very empowering experience. How about you? How was your experience?
So basically, my experience was like full of fun, and it was a bit of a scary as well. So initially, when our eYRC started, and we got to know that we need to reboot the OS and shift to 16.04 for running the ROS. So we pretty much struggled for a week or two in installing that. And I pretty much remember I lost all of my data. I formatted the wrong UEFI, and it was all crashed off. But eventually, I came to know, okay, like, okay, this is the way it is when you're learning something new. You need to go step by step, and eventually you will get a hold of it. So when I was going through it, and all of our team members were trying, eventually we get to a point where we understand ROS very well, and then we started coding in it. So in technical aspect, this was an amazing experience because like just installing it and seeing it run, it was amazing. Another thing was like I understand the concept like patience is a key in this particular any competition, but basically in eYantra, like having a 6 month long like experience, fully flooded with experience, you need to be persistent. And I had a team of four, so team management is also one particular aspect that I learned. And the funniest part was our college was kind of in the outskirts. So instead of putting our like setup there, we took it to with ourselves, and we were having a small flat on sixth floor, and we were doing that. So what amazing thing happened was in the winter times it was freezing night, and in that particular case we were shouldering all night the modules, LED modules, and it was so much fun. And we were playing high intensity music, and all the other like flatmates were like complaining. It was very fun experience in that case. As well as one more experience I remember was in Uttarakhand. So in Uttarakhand time, we were having a bit of a final submissions of eYantra, and we were like, okay, everyone is flying kites. We were watching through our window, and we were flying drones in house. So this was also fun. Made a small GIFs about that. So that was also a very fun experience. Another thing which we found very amazing about eYRC was it was very different from. I have been in robotics since grade ninth itself, because this is one particular field I'm more interested and inclined to. But when I was like acknowledged that there is something called eYantra, this was in my first year in 2018. Like some of my seniors told me that there is something like eYantra, so it's about robotics. You can participate in it. So I was okay, curious. I made a team of four, but sadly we were not able to clear the entrance first year itself because we were not having the knowledge of PE, all of our team members. So we thought in next year we're gonna crash it for sure. So next year we made again a new team, and this year we got in, and this was most amazing experience. So the after experience of eYRC was we got the internship, and internship was like amazing journey in itself. First of all, Discord, remote internship, and everything was going on Discord, and this was completely new because I have been on Discord, but not knowing that entire internship as well as the final exhibition of our projects would go on like live on Discord. That was a really amazing experience. It was pretty much similar to that of the one we have in Physical Essence, and meeting people all over from India and now as it is going international, we might be meeting people from international places as well. And then learning different cultures, and like when you learn a different culture, you have a linear approach of solving a particular problem or thinking in one particular way. Okay, whatever you are thinking might be like say 80 or 90% correct, but when you say like different people approach to one particular problem, they have different thinking, and in that particular case you can't say that you are only correct. In that case you need to consider all those aspects and then you come to a one particular solution. And this was really amazing for me because I found it very like enhancing my skill set and my thinking capabilities. And in a way I didn't only grow technically but as an individual as well, because time management was a very much key aspect, as Ritu said already. And the amazing part was those inter-village like events that we have on. Mine was foreign direct investment, and at night we were calling each other. We were making and we changed complete schedule tracks in a night itself. That was the most amazing experience that we all had. And after that also, like right now also, because of eYantra, I am able to have so many people all over India that even at night we are having discussions that if this particular technology is coming, how we should grow in it. We are making new projects. We are trying to create a robotic community, on the basis of eYantra platform, and this has been a really amazing experience.
Wow, Trishant. So two things I definitely take back is that one is never give up because you kept trying till you came to the internship, and second is that barriers are only in our minds, so we have to break them. And so let's I'll request Kavi sir to maybe interact with you and Ritu and maybe have some more impressions for our audience. Kavi sir, over to you.
When I'm listening to Ritu and Trishant, the thought I have in my mind is, wow, did we do all this? It's hard to believe, and I would certainly not take the credit for it myself. Definitely, it's not only the credit of the team, which is the mentors, right? Because we've created a very vibrant environment. Like eYantra is like a family where the pop kind of has a very lenient hand over everybody. As अच्छा ये try करना है बेटा चलो try करो, ये try करना है try करो. You're allowed to make mistakes, right? But you're encouraged not to make the same mistakes again, right? And I think that's the opportunity we all need. We all need to be in an environment where people can understand us and see where we are coming from and give us an opportunity to try new stuff. Okay, we might fail. Typically, we fail when we try new stuff, right? If you keep on doing the same thing again and again, chances are that you won't fail. You'll just get bored and maybe fail because of that. But we give the opportunity for our own staff to try new stuff and fail and try again. And the similar kind of environment we've extended to the interns. We've given them that sandbox where they are allowed to kind of do some stuff which they've never done before. And I think they've also sensed that. And it just shows that when you do that kind of stuff, amazing magic happens. And I think that what we've experienced is nothing short of magic, which has been co-created, right, with the mentors and the interns, because you brought your own magic to it. Because if you did not give it the kind of effort you've given it, you've not given the persistence that you've given it, you've not given the appreciation, right? I don't think we'd be talking about all this today. So I feel that the success of eYantra has been the success of a value system, which we need to see more in our higher education establishments and in our society for that matter. Indian society is very averse to failure, which is what holds us back. Everybody says, don't do that. They want you to take the conservative option all the time. Government ka job kar do, beta. Bank ka job kar do, right? And entrepreneurship is totally seen as a no-no. Okay? तुम्हारा अरे हमारे दादाजी ने नहीं किया तो तुम क्या हो? तुम क्या हो, that you want to do entrepreneurship and so on. So we are, as a society, we are very risk averse. And part of the reason for that is because we have been a society in want. We've not been very affluent. We've been very dependent until now. But over the last few decades, ever since 1991, when liberalization, in the first 60 years of this country, we reached economy worth about $1 trillion, right? 1 trillion, that means $1,000 billion. Okay. And in the next, what was it? From 1947 to 19, uh, when was it? To about 2000, right? We had reached about $1 trillion. Then it took us 7 years to become 2 trillion, 3 years to become 3 trillion. We are almost $3 trillion now, and increasing even more. So what kind of curve is that, you engineers? Exponential, right? While our parents live in the generation where everything is linear, right? And you can project where things are going. Things are not like this anymore, right? And things are not as certain anymore. Tomorrow is going to be belonging to the people who are willing to take risks and reinvent themselves. In fact, FC Kohli, who is a grand old man of Indian software industry, he keeps on repeating, you should be prepared to change your career at least 5 or 6 times in your life, right? And that means that you should be prepared to constantly be learning and picking up new opportunities. You need to have an entrepreneurial approach to life. Okay. So unknowing to you guys, what you imbibed in the eYantra experience is an entrepreneurial approach to life. Okay. You've been thrown in there to solve the problem, and you've discovered how to solve it. And you've discovered all sorts of cool things that are necessary to solving a problem. You need a good team around you, right? You need good communication skills. You need to enjoy yourself. Otherwise, stress becomes too much, right? You always need the help of others. Nobody can ever teach you stuff. They can just guide you and point to yahan dekho, but the learning has to come from you. And you've also seen the value of persistence. A leitmotif or a repeated motif in all the teams has been persistence. Saying that we persevered, and one day it opened up. And I was looking at that beautiful video that the Bharati Vidyapeeth team has that Anuj has made actually of the Bharati Vidyapeeth team, saying that eYantra is a long-term investment. Okay, so and it's a very beautiful story that they tell, showing how they kept on at it. Finally, something gave, and they cracked the problem. And that's been a similar story across the themes, right? And that's what higher education is all about. That's what doing research is all about. That's what doing startups is all about. That's what doing anything cool in life is all about, right? And not taking the same old Gizapita road that everybody asks you to take. Okay. So having said this, right, I'd like to just toss this at you as to what are the non-technical things. See, technical things are okay, being very good technically makes you a technician. Okay. But we don't want you guys to be technician. You are worth much more than that. We want you to be leaders. You should be employing people tomorrow. You should be doing good quality research. You should be leaders in society, because I feel that you guys are capable of it if you got so far. So now what do you have to say about that aspect, the extracurricular activity, and how that the perception of the value of that has changed in you? Right. So I'll go in reverse order this time. Otherwise, Ritu will steal all the thunder. Trishant. So Trishant first.
Yes, sir. So basically, except for like we say technically, except for that, it's been changing completely, enhancing your skill sets, enhancing not only skill set but the thought processing. So basically, I emphasize more on the thought processing about using the practical applications, because whatever happens in today's like generation or today's market is should be all about practical essence, because we more focus on theoretical agendas, and we have very less time for practical approaches. So we know this particular algorithm works, technically we know everything about it, but how we gonna apply it in real life scenario to practical applications, like how we gonna think that okay, we can apply this in real life like this. So this particular approach only comes when the thought process is synced with what you're gaining technically. And before eYantra, what was happening was that I was knowing many things about computers. I've been into full stack web development, and I have been into like Arduino based small Raspberry Pi based projects, but never I was able to thought that how can I implement it in like real world scenario, and how can I measure those scales as like okay, I'm getting good at this, I'm understanding this better. So in a way, the thought processing is increasing rapidly in that particular essence. And when you have a community, sir, So like I was reading one Medium post, and where in that it said that stress is killing everything. So even dementia can be cured not with medicine or instantly, but with reducing your stress level over longer period of time. And there is blue origin community, I guess they say blue community, where those people are having least stress amount. So when you would be able to think these all aspects and imply it onto your life only when you have a good community around you, who those people will guide you in every particular essence and every stage of life, but not completely spoon feeding as well. So the same feature I found it like providing, like eYantra provided me the same feature for robotics itself. Because in India we have GDGs, we have Microsoft student partners for like computer programming and DS algo and everything. But for robotics, eYantra is taking the next leap into it. So this way, it's like for me, it has served me for like overall growth development.
Okay, it's a nice thing that I'm reminded uh, from what you say now is that in this same long-term investment film, right, is Bhavna Kumari. Is that her name, Ritu? Bhavna
Surbi
Kumari?
Kumari.
Surbi
Surbi.
Kumari. Bhavna Kumari is another student that I know who I know at IIT Bombay. But Surbi Kumari said that the excitement that they experienced when they realized that equations can actually make things happen, right? That's a very nice moment that you pulled, Anuj, right? Very representative moment. She discovered that these equations actually have meaning. इनसे कुछ काम भी होता है. And using that, they were able to balance the bot, right? And that was a revelation. But that's what engineering is all about, right? When I see these amazing structures you see in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, massive buildings and so on, you start wondering how are they able to build these kind of buildings, taking into account things like wind shear and the soil kind of structure and all these kind of things, and even when you see a large aircraft fly, right, you wonder what keeps it up and how they're able to hold the whole thing together, basically, right? And that to keep it light enough so it can take passengers and its own weight and kind of take it up into the sky. That's what engineering is all about. And in software you have analogs of that, but in a digital form. Actually, if you look at it, all those things are analog versions of physical manifestations of equations, right? Before a Airbus A380 is even built, it is simulated, every aspect of it inside the computer. And then that's just the physical rendition of that. And you guys get a taste of that. When you do a simulation in Gazebo, you've done exactly the same thing at a smaller scale. You built a model. And that's how we work. We build models. And when we are comfortable with the model, then we go into the outside world and build stuff. Okay, so I'd like Ritu to reflect about this a little bit. And also, I noticed that she was very active in that literature sessions, right? To just tell us a little bit about learned and how that has affected her.
So, answering the first question first, that I think if like always we are engineers, right? We are preparing to be engineers, and we will always be surrounded by some or the other sort of problem which we are expected to solve. But the thing is that if we are standing right in the middle of the problem and we see around us, we'll be puzzled. But if we take a step back and we analyze the situation as a whole, we know that this is a problem at hand, can be tackled with different the problem in a better and an efficient manner. So it is not abilities we need. Obviously, they are very of the problem itself. So I think it is really important to be more just an engineer, as sir very well said that it only makes us a technician, but we need to be more than that. Secondly, I think, yeah, so as sir said, we had a session by Sudha. Topic was alternate realities. So she took up two very interesting stories, and we had a discussion, all the interns together with her. We had a discussion on those two stories that we had to already read it before the session and give our reflections as to what we think. The interesting point is that these stories did not have a proper beginning, proper middle section, and an end. we had to analyze, we had to give a thought to it, and come with a conclusion or an inference. And surprisingly, many people spoke in that session, and every one of us had a different feel towards it. The same story. We thought that someone deserved something, or this thing rightly happened with this person, or each of us had a different inference. So at the end of that particular session, we some of our friends, we had a discussion also about this later, but we realized that really have only two stories which we heard in that session left us thinking, not for 1 day 2 days, but like we were left thinking for more than a week, I think. Those two stories, it really affected us how each of our thoughts differed from each other. We had different point of views. So I think all these things all these different aspects have a different impact on us and our thinking process. So we really must go through such different experiences in life, and learn from them. So it really makes us better.
Something I could maybe add to this. Okay, I'll tell you a little secret now. Okay, I don't think I mentioned it before. There's a tradition at IIT. Okay, it takes me back to a story that my colleague Professor Phatak, who's a big name in computer science, he recently retired. Professor DB Phatak. He's the one who started all this distance education program ideas at IIT Bombay, and he's the one who hired me in IIT Bombay, and he's the one who actually got me into this distance education space, which is why e-Yantra happened, right? So let's say he's the pardada of distance education in India, and especially at IIT Bombay. So he used to tell us a story of one Professor Isaacs in the computer science department. And at that time, Professor Phatak was a master's student. Okay. So Professor Isaacs gave the entire class a problem and then went away, solve it, right? And these guys are banging their head against it for one whole week and they are not able to solve it and stuff like that. And Professor Phatak, who was a student that time, goes to his prof and says, Prof Isaacs, ये क्या problem आपने दिया है? कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा, I cannot crack it and this and that, and what is the answer? So Professor Isaac said that, look, if I knew the answer, I'd have told you guys, right? This is an unsolved problem in computer science, right? But it so happened that one of the students who went on to be a very illustrious professor later on cracked the problem in the class, right? So often what happens is that the difficulty of a problem is often a perceived difficulty. If I tell you that a problem is difficult, you won't even try to solve it. Okay. But if you didn't know, you never know what might happen. Okay. And in a different way, I would say that even when we design these problems, which are called themes for you, right? It's invariable that you come up with better solutions than we did. So who's the student and who's the teacher? Okay, we design the problem and we solve it ourselves before we give it to you. And then we find that some of the solutions are far cooler than what we could think of. And that's the exciting thing sitting at our end, because we realize that the kids out there are so bright that given the opportunity, they can really surprise you. And that's what makes being in this place really good fun. Okay, so that's a little perspective I'd like to share with you, which is why even us now, when we want to understand something, we decide to teach it. Because it's only when we teach it that we begin to understand it, because we get asked all sorts of simple questions which we never ask ourselves, right? And then in the answering of those questions, you start understanding things better, which is why I feel that the university environment where students who want to become teachers first become teaching assistants and then teach a course themselves, right? And help other students. In the process, you're getting prepared for becoming a teacher yourself. So I think that's what e-Yantra is all about. In fact, our next initiative wants to make you guys go and teach the kids in the school the same stuff which you've learned, right? And I'm 100% sure that in the process of doing that, you'll discover that you will learn the material much better than you did. and you'll understand it and relate to it in a totally different way. So this is an aside, and I think I'm digressing. I've got this habit as a teacher of digressing and telling other stories. These guys are used to it now. So Anuj, before I digress anymore, I'll pass the floor back to you.
Right. So that's a lot of food for thought. I think the audience must be really enjoying the interaction that the our 2x eYRC students are having with Professor Kavi Arya, because there's lots of knowledge that's been shared and a lot of impressions and experience. So what we'll do now is that we'll open this floor for some questions from the audience. And I'll request Professor Kavi Arya to address them and share his impressions or about those questions.
In fact, I'm sure that Ritu and Prashant could also answer them.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Go on.
Okay, so we have been receiving a lot of questions, and I think sign of a seeking mind. So a lot of students are really seeking a lot of questions, and they want a lot of information so that they can participate in this competition. So, Kavi sir, my first question is, like you also mentioned sometime back to Prashant, where one of the interns kind of shared that eYantra is an investment for life. So, in that sense, sir, a lot of questions regarding MOOC is coming, and about why there is a registration fee. So, what would you like to share with aspiring students of this year's eYRC?
Okay. Why is there a registration fee? Good question. The fact is that eYantra, just remember, was a very short 2-year project many years ago, and it's got extensions and extensions and extensions until it's reached this point. And I believe that eYantra has become too important now to be left to the vagaries of opinions and officials and other influences in the long term. It needs to self-sustain, and if it is to self-sustain, then the community has to help sustain it. And what does the community get in exchange, right? For a nominal registration fee, you get something which is just not a competition only. It is robotics and embedded systems MOOC, where we teach you before we make you compete. Okay, so what you get is a two-staged competition. Originally, we had a selection test where we could only take 20%, because that's the resources that we had. We could take only 20% of the students into the stage 1 of the competition, and then we take them into stage 2, right? Now, what we are doing is that we've eliminated the selection test, and we are taking everybody into stage 1. So everybody is going to experience the MOOC, and then after that, we are going to take a select few from that, because we'll have to invest resources like robotic kits and all that into them, and take them through stage 2, right? Now, that means stage 2 is totally free. That means whatever kits you need, whatever robotic kits and accessories and all that, whatever training you need is totally free. If you have to come to IIT Bombay for the finals, we will host you at IIT Bombay. And if we call you into the internship program, which is a 6-week internship program hosted at IIT Bombay, that will be at our cost. So there's a lot of value that you potentially got. And stage 1 will give you a certificate if you've successfully completed stage 1. That means that if you've not done anything in stage 1, obviously you won't get a certificate. But if you have conducted yourself adequately and come up with something adequate in stage 1, we shall give you a certificate appreciating the level or the grade that you got in stage 1. And naturally, you'll get that in stage 2 also. This is partly because a number of colleges and universities want to include eYantra into their academic credit program. That means that under the new education policy, I think up to 20% of the grades can go to MOOC-based courses and stuff like that. So I feel eYantra qualifies for that. And so our stage one certificate will assess you enough to give a cue to your academic institutions as to how they can grade you. And this comes along with a virtual classroom experience and hands-on learning and stuff like that. And we've kept the registration fee very low. We say worldwide it will be the cost of a McDonald's meal or whatever it is. Yeah, something that most people can afford. I mean, they don't need to kind of go through any trouble. So we've kept it very, very low. And if you look at comparable programs, whether it is edX or Coursera or even taking part in robotics competitions, because this is what we are, robotics competition. First of all, there is no robotic competition like ours, which caters to small teams. There are always big efforts where the entire institution takes part. And to take part, for instance, in the first robotics competition, which is for schools, right, costs lakhs of rupees. So we felt that this is an amazing value that we're offering. Okay. And there are lots of innovations that we've done, like mainly everybody gets an access to stage one. So it's a MOOC. Now someone is asking whether it's edX or Coursera. We won't tie ourselves down to edX or Coursera because I myself have tried to attend courses on edX and Coursera, and often it's not actually held my attention. I can't say the same for our course because we use a plethora of materials. We use stuff on the web, and we use stuff which is generated by ourselves, and we curate all the resources and give it to you. We guide you step by step. We mentor you step by step. So you always have expert guidance. There's a human being at the other end on Piazza answering your questions. You are part of a community where if you want help, you put it out into the community and it helps you. So there's a lot of help that you get, which other experiences don't give you, right? So I think there's a fair amount of value that you get along with this. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes, sir, Sanjay.
There, but I'm back. At least I've answered the question. So over to you, Anuj.
Okay. So, sir, that really explains why there's a registration fees. Sir, students want to know about MOOC in detail. So, would you like to share something on that?
Yes, but perhaps the people who are the recipient of the Gyan and who are the receiving end of the MOOC should answer the question. I would invite Ritu to answer what the learning experience has been like under eYantra, and she might be having experience of some other media also. So over to you, Ritu.
Hello everyone. So I'll tell a bit about the stage one, which is essentially a MOOC, as Sir also said. So basically, if you are someone who has doesn't have much experience in maybe coding or robotics in general, or dealing with hardware and other things, it is actually one of the best competitions you can take part in. Why? Because over here in the initial stages, in the initial tasks, we are actually given PDFs. We like step by step how to set up environments, how to kind of operate. Even for us, we required Linux operating system. So even how to install that, how to all the repositories are given, and then once we do that, then we have to build on it and we have to make our own progress on it. So it's basically teaches you along the way. I myself did not have much of knowledge in technically till last year when I before participating, but over the months I've felt that it has tremendously helped me to build on my technical skills as well. Yeah.
Back to you.
Our theme was survey and rescue, and we were required. It's basically an abstracted version of a disaster, wherein there are, like, for instance, floods all around, and you need to supply food, medicine, and rescue to people. And for that, we had to code a drone basically in the ROS environment. So I learned things like ROS, Robot Operating System, Gazebo Simulator, obviously Linux, as I mentioned earlier, and image processing, all using Python. So yeah, that way it helped.
Okay, so that's interesting, Ritu. So there's lots to learn, like in this competition, and truly eYRC is like an investment for life. Uh, Sir, students want to know that how, like, because there's a lockdown going on, so how will students from different locations work in this competition?
Okay, the same way that our interns worked. So again, maybe this time I'll pass the floor over to Trishant. And internship is as much, if not more, intense than the competition, right? And we usually have it at IIT Bombay. So this is the first time we managed the internship online and remotely. So we had 133 interns scattered across the country, from Jodhpur to Kerala to Rourkela to remote Assam and things like that. And they worked together as one community and one family, right? And they worked on very difficult tasks. The projects that they were working on under the mentors is not very different from the kind of thing that they would do in the competition, because they were working in groups of 2 and 3 and 4, right? So Tushant, maybe you should answer the question.
Yes, sir. So basically, what eYantra used for this carrying out this remote internship was Discord. So many of you might know Discord by a gaming platform, but now it is transitioning in entire communities are onboarding on Discord. So with the help of Discord, there are various servers for specific tasks. And with the help of that, you can interact with your mentors, with fellow members, as well as the amazing part of Discord is, like, you have audio stream server, you have video stream server, and obviously the messaging part, as well as you have amazing capabilities like bots which can play music, so you could also have fun time with all the fellows. And in short, you can connect with everyone, and it is a flawless kind of thing, as well as completely non physical hardware based. So you would be using simulators, ROS and Gazebo. So it would be very convenient for you to, like, your entire stage one, which is about a 1.5 month, would be conducted through Discord.
So I would like to also add here that please don't compare us with Coursera and edX and other things like that. We've gone beyond Coursera and edX, because we gave a very practical, hands-on kind of training, and we've mastered the art of doing it. And in this stage one and stage two breakup, what we do is that in stage one, you learn everything. And even if you have to do robotics, right, you do it on a simulator in a virtual environment, but that knowledge is not very different from doing it on a real robot, right? And once you've shown us what you can do there, basis that, we'll take you into stage two, where you'll transfer those skills to a real robot. And that transference of that skill is a step, a decent step, but you learn a hell of a lot, almost about 75% of the skills that you need in the stage one, which is done on a simulator. So don't underestimate the value of a simulator, because planes are built, designed on a simulator, flown in a simulator, before the engineers actually sort of make the physical version and put it out there in the world. So you learn a hell of a lot in stage one, and you learn in a hands-on way. And most important, you learn with live mentors who are coaxing you, cajoling you, taking you ahead, giving you assignments, and you are taught step by step in small steps. You cover a lot of distance, right, in the training. So it's not like we've given you a big thing and kind of you solve it yourself. Now Ritu has something to add to this. I'll ask her to elaborate.
Yes. So being a student, I have definitely participated in this competition, others, and also tried several courses which are available. All of us have, right? We in the lockdown, especially, we want to do something more than just wasting time or something. So we have obviously enrolled in Coursera, Udemy, and many more sites such as these to enhance our skills. But the thing is that the courses, definitely I'm not undermining them, but the courses are generally maybe 1 or 2 days long, or 1 week long, or 4 weeks long. And the thing about them is that we are sitting at our own place learning by ourselves. But when we are competing in such a competition, we have a team around us. So it's like we have some skills, our team members have some other skills, and together we learn. So that is one essential point that happens in this competition. Also, that the amount of time we spend on things. Since like if we are lucky enough, we do hard work, we spend about 6 to 7 months in the competition. And I mean, 6 to 7 months is a very good time to learn a skill, to learn multiple skills for that matter. Also, that since this is a project-based learning system, so we are initially, obviously, we are given theme. That is, we have a problem statement at hand, and we have to make the best solution towards it using certain guidelines from the theme setters themselves. And the thing is that since we are competing for the same problem statement with other teams, it kind of pushes us to make the best solution out of it, to come up with the best version of ourselves. Had it been only a simple project with no competition at all, we all know how our college projects are. Since we are doing it on our own, we have our own limitations. But when we are competing against the rest of India, all the colleges and all the students of our age, it kind of pushes us to make the best version, and in that we cross our limitations. We don't realize that we had so much potential in us until we are actually at the other side of the route. So that really helps.
That's very beautifully put, Ritu.
Yes,
Back to
Ritu.
you, Anup.
Yeah, I think that's very good. And in fact, you mentioned that all over India, this time it's open for internationally. So this time students are going to compete internationally with students across the world. So that's another amazing thing that's happening to eYRC this year. So, sir, they want to know that what really happens in the stage one.
So, how much time do we have?
Sir, we have 5 minutes.
Okay. No, I'll just take less than a minute. So what happens in stage one? Stage one, as I said, is a MOOC. It teaches you various concepts that you need for stage two. Like, for instance, if you need to build a balancing bot to solve a problem in stage two, we'll give you all the skills. We'll teach you control system design, embedded systems programming, putting together your balancing bot, make your bot balance inside a simulator. So you'll master the control system algorithms. Like, for instance, in this last year's theme, we had them use an LQR algorithm, right? So they would either build a PID algorithm or LQR algorithm. Basis that they would make the bot balance, and they would make the bot traverse an arena inside a simulator. Now that's a considerable amount of skills acquired. Next, in stage two, they transfer these skills to a physical robot. Now, a physical robot has got different characteristics in the sense that the motors might not be totally well balanced, right? There might be more friction in one motor. Sensors might have noise in them. So you'd be dealing with real world things. Your bot might not be perfectly machined. So you'd have to play around with constants, and then, all sorts of things that happen in the real world, which are not there in the perfect world of the simulator. Okay. And so that's how you learn. So everything you need to learn. Some themes need you to learn image processing. Some themes need machine learning. Some themes need 3D design, right? And all these skills that we teach you use open source tools, which is very, very important. eYantra only believes in open source, and you'll realize the value of this when you go into industry. I won't say too much more about this because this is another talk, but more importantly, what's happening now, it's very nice for Ritu to bring this point out, that you are competing against a lot of people in your stage, not age, your stage, basically, right? And this competing brings out a new kind of, it brings out undiscovered things that you never knew about yourself, right? About what your real staying power is, your stamina, and the intellectual potential you have. You've never worked borrowing nights, as they say amongst the students, and to see what comes out of that. You never hit your head against a problem for 1 week, 2 weeks until it actually breaks, right? And that's a very exhilarating experience which normally we don't have access to. And now you'll be testing your metal across a large number of countries. Initially, we have opened up only to certain countries in South Asia and Africa, like the BIMSTEC group, which is Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand. And in the ASEAN group, which is Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and so on. And in Africa, we've chosen two countries, which is Namibia and South Africa. So you'll be testing yourself. I'm certain that you guys will do very, very well. This is before we go out to the rest of the world and the developed countries like Israel and Europe and America and Canada and all these kind of things, right? So this is, we are taking our first step in that direction, and you can test your metal more and more as you go along with us. Over to you, Anuj.
Right, sir. So thank you, sir, for clarifying that. Sir, like I remember talking to one of the interns, and like the intern was sharing that the actual price is the learning that we get, but still there are a lot of students who have some questions that if we get down before last task of stage 1, will we get appreciation certificate? Technical question, but yes, sir, please address it.
Okay. My answer to that is that we don't quite have an answer yet, because this is the first time we'll be doing this. And I feel that if you've done adequately, now we have to define what adequately means, right? And it will depend on theme to theme. These are decisions that we will make, but we will be reasonable. Our job is not to fail you in life. The job of a teacher is to try and pass on as much gyan. So eYantra is actually a teacher. We want all you guys to succeed. We feel very bad when you don't get to the next stages and all that. But I'm sure that if you persevere, you will get up to the end of stage 1. We will position stage 1 in a way that you'll be able to complete it, right? And it's only if you do something really kind of miserable that you won't get to that stage. And you have us encouraging you all the way. Do remember, we have structured it this way because we should be able to give a grade every stage of stage 1, so we can give you a certificate which is meaningful and which holds value to an academic institution when they want to use it in their grading. So that's the basis on which we'll give you a certificate for stage 1. It will be an as accurate representation of the skills that you have acquired, and for that we have to be very objective. Now that's our problem, and we'll try our best to do that. Yes,
sir. Thanks. Thank you for sharing that. I think that will clarify a lot of questions that students have. Sir, I think you've covered this question, but I will still ask you, because this a lot of students have this question. Is that, will you teach in MOOC, or will you send the material to them? And I think you have already shared on this, but if you could address this one also.
Okay, what does teaching and what does sending material mean? Because we are doing, I'm teaching a course this semester at IIT Bombay. It's an online course. So what we have decided to do is that I'm recording my lectures and sending it to the students. And then in class, we are having interaction. So it's like a flipped classroom. Okay. So we'll explore variants of this where we'll send you recorded slides with a voiceover and stuff like that. But let me share with you one thing. By just listening to a lecture, you don't learn very much. And that's my experience. I'm sure it's your experience also. It's when you start doing the assignments that you actually learn, right? Especially in very practical courses like programming and anything. Most of these things are practical. So don't get too obsessed by the mode in which you are taught. As long as it's engaging, as long as you can relate to it, as long as it makes you and encourages you to work and learn stuff, the mode is good. So don't be obsessed about these kind of things. I can give you a 1-hour lecture and you'll get very bored. And 1-hour lectures are not the way to teach online, I feel, right? Maximum should be about 10 to 12 minutes, but many teachers haven't discovered that yet, right? They will jhado 1-hour lectures the way they do in classrooms, but that's not really the way to go. Sorry, don't tell them I said that.
So you're live.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, sir, one question is that, I think this is coming from a seeking mind, because they're saying that if we want to prepare beforehand, what are the topics we should explore?
If you want to prepare beforehand, what are the topics that you should explore? Anything that you're interested in, right? Get some experience in programming in Python. we don't require very much. Whatever you need in the competition, we teach you, right? But what we are in the process of doing at the moment is that we are turning a lot of our material into MOOCs, and these MOOCs will be running on a monthly basis. And if you want, you can take these MOOCs offline, right, and separately. And if you take them, it will definitely give you the background or the gyan which will help you in the competition.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, sir, there is one question, which is that why only one person cannot participate?
Why only one person cannot participate? Good question. We started off with 4-person teams, and I think that's been a very successful model. If it ain't broke, then don't change it. And I feel that this 4-person thing is very important because most problems in life are multidisciplinary, and you need different skills in a team. And it's very important that you learn to work in a team because when you go out into the world, you're going to work in teams, right? And typically we find that the team is richer for having different skills: computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical, and stuff like that. And also the 4-person team is a kind of self-help group. You're not alone. The other thing is we assess you as a team. That's a very important point. We assess you as a team. If the team fails, not one person fails. If the team succeeds, the team succeeds, not one person succeeds, right? And I think there are some very important learnings to be discovered there, right? So I feel that this having people work in teams is a very important skill that the students should learn before they go out into the outside world. And plus, you can tackle more interesting and more ambitious problems because you can divide the work into 4 and do much more than one person could do. Yes, Anuj.
Right, sir. That's very important, sir. So we will take on more questions when we go live next Sunday also. But I would really appreciate, sir, if you could share a message with the students, who are really looking forward to compete in this year's eYRC and really looking forward to learn.
Excellent. So all I can say is that register and participate and help us make this year's competition a real success. And I feel that in so doing, you will not only be learning a lot, but you'll also be turning into a much more contributing member of society in India. Our desire is that as many of our engineering students as possible should be exposed to this way of learning because this is really the way to go. Our country needs many more leaders. It needs many more entrepreneurs. And by engaging with eYantra, you are taking your first step towards going in that direction of becoming a self-reliant leader, if you like, who also knows the technology. And our country is desperately in need of people who can solve real problems. And that's what eYantra does through all its initiatives, right? eYantra competition teaches you skills, and eYantra innovation challenge helps you use these skills to solve real problems. In fact, this year, the eYantra Innovation Challenge is going to focus on disaster management, where we'll first tell you about disasters. We'll teach you tools that you need, like GIS databases and analytics tools and all that. We'll teach you innovation and entrepreneurship, and then we'll actually help you discover an interesting problem to solve, which can turn into a startup later. And then we'll give you all the information and gyan that you need along the way. But eYRC until now is available only to eYantra labs. And we have about 385 plus labs throughout the country. But more important than all, right, is our desire as a teacher, as a well-wisher, as a friend, right, to give you the experience, to give you the experiences, to turn you into the best engineer and the best human being that you can be. And I think if we've achieved that, we've done a hell of a lot, and we can give all of ourselves a pat on the back for that. So I hope that's answered the question. Thank you.
Right, sir. So thank you, sir. So what we'll do is, sir, we'll wrap up this session now, and we will have another session on coming Sunday. So everyone who's watching us today live, please do come back and have your queries answered. Whatever queries you have, please put it forward so that Kavi sir and the team can address your queries and you can participate in the competition and maximize your learning out of it. So I would really like to thank you all for patiently listening to us and for being a lovely audience. It's a Sunday evening well spent, and I would like to thank Professor Kavi Arya for being here and really motivating and encouraging all of us. And I would really like to thank Prashant and Ritu for sharing their experiences of last year's eYRC and also the internship. And lastly, thank you, Deepa and Aditya, for this session. So thanks a lot, everyone. We can conclude here.
Not only Deepa and Aditya, but Suprama, who's out of sight here, and actually the entire eYantra team which has made this happen. And it's delightful how the interns and the team has got together and made this really happen. It's been my desire for many years to start doing this and engage with the students. But thanks all for having made it happen, including Anuj and Riddhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.